Ooh, yeah! It's another episode of Over a Couple of Beers. You had to know I was going to do that, right?
I'm sorry that you did.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. This is Jason Cercone alongside Jason Collins. We're geeked out like a couple of 10-year-olds because it's Wrestlemania week, is something we used to say when we were 10 years younger and wrestling was good.
Yes.
But all joking aside, we're gonna talk a little wrestling because we are geeks like that. Even on a podcast about beer, we always seem to sneak it in. But Wrestlemania is. Were you queuing up the entrance music again? From Beyond the Grave?
Yeah.
So
Rest in peace.
Yeah, no doubt. So we're going to talk a little bit about WrestleMania. We've got some predictions sure to fall apart for you tonight, and I actually came up with a good one today that you might like, dude. So when we get into these matches, I'm going to bust out some of that, and we're going to talk a little bit about Howard Stern, and of course, we're going to talk about some beer. What are you drinking tonight, sir?
Drinking some Torpedo, and I after last week, I'm surprised I'm drinking anything at all.
Yeah, it's the leftover remnants of a nice vacation down in Virginia Beach. Obviously, our voices are a little bit clearer on this podcast.
I'm still recovering from all that.
Well, that's what madness does. It usually takes at least a week to come around. There's
Macho Madness.
Yeah, that's the one. So I'm drinking the same. Thanks for the hookup on the Torpedo. I came empty-handed.
It's left over from vacation.
Yeah, coming empty-handed.
That's all I got,
to the
actually.
Beer podcast isn't always the best thing in the world, but I managed to pull it off tonight. I've been running around all day long. But before we get rocking and rolling on the beer talk, let's talk a little WrestleMania. So Sunday, coming from Levi Stadium, is WWE's flagship show of all shows, WrestleMania 31st edition. And, you know, I went through this today because I wanted to talk about what I thought would happen. I'll be honest with you, dude. The card's not as bad as I originally thought. And
I didn't think it was bad at all, actually.
It looks pretty good. I mean, there's a couple matches in there that I could do without.
Well, I like the unpredictability of the main event now that, you know, the new piece of information has come out.
Yes.
About Lesnar, so.
Yeah, so we'll get to that. You want to start from the bottom? We'll work our way up to the main event.
Sure. What the heck?
Because the top two matches there's a good amount of talk there. All right, so this is how low the tag team championship is sunk in the WWE on the kickoff show before WrestleMania goes live.
Oh, dark matches.
Yeah.
Oh.
But if you have
for a title,
I don't even know. I mean, I think if you have WWE Network, which I do, you're going to have the ability to watch the
cheap plug $9.99.
$9.99 is great. And I'll tell you what, man. If you watched Raw this week, they were really after some cheap buys because,
oh yeah,
$9.99, no commitment, get it, and you could cancel the next day.
Right?
So
yeah, you get WrestleMania for $10.
I know that's really silly if you do pay the full price, but nevertheless, kickoff show tag team championship match is a fatal four-way between the Usos, Los Matadores, The New Day, and Cesaro and Tyson Kidd.
Okay, so now I know why it's a dark match.
There's
a bunch of cartoon characters in that. Two of those tag teams in that bout right there have set wrestling back 25 years.
Which two are you referring to?
The Usos and the Idiots with the Masks.
The Usos are actually talented wrestling.
Sure they are, but they
and I guess Los Matadores. I don't understand why they stopped calling them Primo and Primo and Epico? I mean, it's Carlos Colon's kids.
Right.
We all know it. Why slap the stupid?
Speaking of that, have you seen Carlito lately?
Is he jacked?
He's all swole.
Yeah. Where's he wrestling now?
I don't know if he is. I saw him in a picture with Ken Anderson.
Yeah.
On his Instagram account, Ken Anderson's Instagram account. And he's all jacked up.
Nice. So
because they're not testing him, I'm sure.
And then the New Day is the watered down version of a good guy's Nation of Domination, I guess.
Oh, those guys. Yeah.
Okay. And which is a total waste of talent in regards to Kofi Kingston.
Kofi Kingston's always been a waste of talent. He's about as talented as a wrestler as there is, and well, they've proven time and time again they don't like good wrestling. So,
well, speaking of that, Cesaro and Tyson Kidd, also two very talented wrestlers that are just slapped together to be a makeshift tag team, and they put the belts on them to try to get it over. And I mean, as a tag team, they work well together, but it's been more about the marital problems of Natalya and Tyson Kidd. But nevertheless, they're the champs.
Go watch Total Divas for that shit.
That's my call on that too. And I'm saying they walk out with the belts. That's my prediction because I just can't see and they just got them too. The Usos had their run, and the other two I don't think are in that spot. So
I don't know who I'm picking in that. I'm going to say the Usos have held the belt for the most time out of that group.
Mm-hmm.
Am I incorrect in saying that? But I say the Usos win it.
Okay.
Because the title holder right now is Cesaro and Tyson Kidd.
Exactly.
Yeah, they let them. I think they're going to disperse that tag team after this match.
Right. So do you want to put some money on our predictions? Maybe put $1 on each match and see what happens? I don't know. Let's go with something to do on Sunday when we're watching.
Yeah, sure, for the radio.
Okay. All right, so that's the first match. Next, at least in the order I have this going, is the Divas tag match of AJ Lee and Paige versus the Bella Twins. I'm going AJ Lee and Paige because there's no reason to really talk about this. B, they're talking about the
they're starting a feud with these two.
Well, they've had a feud going, but it's just stupid because there's no title on the line. The Bellas have no reason to go over.
There's going to be a point in the match where Paige and AJ Lee get in some sort of disagreement, and that'll spark their feud forever. How long that goes, and for the record, the women's division in the WWE sucks, so it doesn't matter.
Yeah, and NXT on the other hand,
well, NXT, and I'll talk about TNA's women's division all day long, but WWE's women's division is terrible.
Yeah. All right, so we'll gradually skip past that. Andre the Giant Battle Royal winner.
The one-man gang.
Late entry for the one-man gang.
Oh, he's not in it? Okay.
I think, is he still alive?
Then chances are no, but
I haven't heard anything.
Then I will pick Akeem the African Dream.
This is the best Andre the Giant Battle Royal they've ever had.
It's the same guy.
Is the Goon in it? That's not the same. Oh, it is the same guy. That's right. Yeah, that's right. I'm sorry. I was getting him confused with the bigger version of the Big Boss Man.
Right. Okay, the Big Boss Man.
Okay, he's dead. We know that for a fact.
He was crucified, wasn't he?
Yeah, he was crucified and came out on Raw the next night. That was
superhuman. Okay.
I'm going to go with Mizdow. This is where he breaks out.
Well, he kind of has to. This angle's been going on for way too long. And we discussed this the other night. I don't know if Mizdow is that over or if Miz is that over. Fans just love to get to him, and that's why they do it.
He plays that annoying character role to a T.
Oh, sure.
Perfect.
100%. He's great.
Yeah.
So is his wife.
Yes. They need to bring her back.
Oh.
Yes. Maurice, right?
Maurice.
That's what. Yeah, that was her.
Maybe the hottest girl that's ever been in wrestling.
Yeah. All right. So next match. Actually, now we're starting to get into the good stuff. Randy Orton versus Seth Rollins.
Oh boy. I think.
I'll tell you what, man. With the build that they've been doing with Rollins, and Orton's probably been the one guy that could come along to put him down. I don't think it's going to happen. I think Rollins is going to sneak. He's going to win it. It might be a cheating victory. It might not be clean. But
well, I think this is possibly the match where they put Seth Rollins out on his own instead of having to
break him away from the Authority
because they suck.
That is a terrible.
He's amazing.
Faction.
The rest of it sucks. Just get him out of there.
Yep.
Let him do his thing. Let him go for the title. Let him and Orton have their own little thing for a little while.
And that's a feud that could continue to go on with the two of them on their own.
Then you're looking at three-way title matches, things like that with those two, and maybe Reigns or whoever's the champion at that point.
Yeah, I think that's going to be a really good match to watch. I mean, if the little beatdown thing they did on Raw a couple weeks ago with Orton taking him around the arena and just thrashing him is any indication of the kind of match they'll put on, I think it's going to be great. And Rollins is just a killer worker in the ring, so it's going to be that's going to be one to watch for sure. Next one, U.S. title match, Rusev versus Cena. I will say the build for this has been very good. Lack of Lana is not.
Cena's going to hand him his first loss.
Yep, I'm with you on that for sure. I think that Lana. I don't know. There might be something happening behind the scenes where she's not on for the last couple of weeks.
Well, they said that. I think this week they said there was some sort of thing that happened the week before.
Well, what ended up, if you didn't see it, what ended up happening was Rusev was refusing to give Cena the match. Cena came out, put him in the STF, wouldn't let him go. Lana finally said, "Okay, you can have the match." So he let him go.
He's mad at her.
But then backstage they got in an argument. Then the next week he brought out some lawyer, which was kind of really funny the way they did that. It was like they're in Wisconsin, I believe, and he had this Wisconsin drawl with a Russian accent mixed into it, and it sounded like what's the hockey thing? The two brothers. Why am I not remembering who that is?
The oars?
No.
The holes?
The real hockey players.
Oh, you mean Rick Moranis and
yes.
Dave Thomas?
Yes.
Oh,
why am I not remembering the names? Okay, you're not either. This is,
I know who you're.
brutal.
I know what it is. It's from the old SCTV. And they did the beer commercials.
Absolutely nothing I cannot read. Yeah, that's exactly what it is. So the guy sounded like that.
I'm looking it up.
All right, he's looking it up. So the guy sounded like that. Anyway, that was pretty funny. And just to compliment the build for this match, it's been very good. And I think it's showing that they are doing their best to elevate the mid-card title belts by putting guys like Cena in the match. Rusev.
Strange Brew.
Yes. Yes. I can't believe I forgot that, considering the party the Brew Gentlemen just had last Sunday.
Yeah, well, Bob and Doug McKenzie.
Yes. Yes, thank you. So anyway, Cena goes over, gets the U.S. title. All right. So here's one that I don't know which way to go. Undertaker versus Bray Wyatt.
I'm as great as Bray Wyatt's promos have been leading up to this, they've handled this horribly.
Here's why I think The Undertaker wins this match. A, he's going to retire. Next year it will be Hall of Fame for him. It's not going to be any kind of... I can't see him doing another match after this year. But he goes over because Bray Wyatt has put... as if he wasn't on the map to begin with, his promos leading up to this match have been ridiculous. Enough to solidify him.
So you think, being one-sided, you think that that's the reason why Undertaker's going to come out and win, is because it's been all Bray up to this point? I think that
even with what he's done and what he's proven he can do on the mic, and him carrying the feud himself, the whole thing has been Bray Wyatt. He doesn't need the win to solidify
because he'll still be
in
there.
The spot. He's going to be there for. He's one of the future guys. He doesn't. He could be a guy that takes the title in the next year. They can put him in that picture.
Well, they should,
and he'll be ready because he's showing that he can handle a mic better than Reigns, better than
almost
Rollins.
Anybody can do it better than Reigns.
True, but that's why I'm going Undertaker. I think he goes out on top. He'll have his little moment in the sun. Maybe he even gets on the mic and says, "This is it for me." I don't know, but
I hate to say this, but I hope he does, because we talked about how he looked.
His legacy needs to.
I saw some pictures of him training and stuff, and he's been kicking his ass, his own ass to get in the ring and do all this stuff. But I just can't imagine. I don't know who's going to win this match, and I actually think Bray's going to win this match because the streak is over. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
So what if he's would it be 21-2 now, or
21-2?
21-2. Who cares? If you're 21-1, what's 21-2?
True.
He's coming back to put this guy over as the new Undertaker.
I just can't see him going almost a quarter century of winning at every WrestleMania to lose his last match. That's why I'm saying he goes over. That's what I can't see him going down in defeat.
Ric Flair lost his last match in WCW
and WWE, I guess. To say, maybe
he's not above it. He's not above it.
He'll do business. That's for sure.
The guy's 50 years old. I mean, it's no shame, especially if your last match, you last second you agree with Vince McMahon to go and ruin your streak over BS for a guy who's going to work 6 times a year.
Yeah.
Go and lose this match to the kid that's going to take this company in the next 10 years.
True.
So just lose this match, because I see the guys, Bray's last promo saying that, I'm the new face of fear. Undertaker's got to put him over as the new face of fear. He's the new guy that's going to be the Undertaker for the next 10 years. The guy that everybody's afraid of, that creeps everybody out, that has insanely good entrance.
Yeah.
So it's just, I think Bray Wyatt wins this match.
Okay.
And I think he wins it clean.
I'm going to stick with the Undertaker. I'm going to stick with my original stance, but those are good points. I mean, you're right. The top guys have gone out on top, or gone out
and
looking up.
In every documentary you see and everything they talk about, everyone talks about how Mark is the most professional guy they've ever encountered in wrestling. And that's why Sting wanted this match.
Yeah.
He's like, if anybody I want to wrestle, it's The Undertaker.
That's the one that I would say, if he could come back for one more next year and it's Sting versus Undertaker, then they both
and who gives a shit how ancient they are, it would still be just epic. In the build to a match like that with Sting being like the cerebral guy and the guy up in the rafters and stuff, and the Undertaker being who he is. The build of that match could be amazing.
I mean, this is. Yeah, that's something that we talked about the nostalgia chubbies before. That is one right there that is lifelong wrestling fans and watching those guys since the 80s and 90s. Whew.
Yeah, no, it'd be amazing. That's one of those matches that you always go, I really wish this match would have happened. Another one is Austin and Goldberg.
Yeah. Well, that could have happened. They could have done that match,
and it didn't. Well, they ruined it.
And we've learned over the years with all the pulling down and all the breaking of kayfabe that there was really no heat between the two of those guys, and there really was no effort or trying on Goldberg's part to mimic that character. There was a lot of similarities, but there was many differences.
Yeah, they looked similar, bald head, goatee, but that's pretty much where it
began and ended. Yep.
I mean, those two were two completely different workers in the ring.
And the thing you learned about Goldberg is he took everything so seriously.
He did.
Everything.
And he to this day, he probably still does. Yeah. But because he took everything so seriously, it put him in that spot he was in. Because he came in with the mindset that I'm going to be the top guy in this company, and he did it in like frickin' 2 months. Mm-hmm. He was the top guy in the company just because his charisma and his style was unseen before.
Yeah, and it's funny too that the Monday Night War documentary on WWE Network, where they did a whole episode on Goldberg, which they should have, and they actually broke down a lot of the key players in their own episodes. But Goldberg's, they talked about how his he had the rise, and then it was all just domination. Mm-hmm. Go in, hit the guy.
And it never got old. But that was the crazy part. It never got old.
Told William Regal to go out and have a stiff match with him.
Right.
We want 7 minutes out of Goldberg to see if he could do it, and he couldn't do it.
Oh, of course not.
He froze.
No, he
Regal
wasn't.
had to carry it, and he said, and it wasn't pretty.
No, it wasn't. Pretty. He learned a lesson there, and he realized at that point that he needed to get better at wrestling.
Yeah,
and he ended up doing that. He put some more moves in. He got more athletic in the ring. He learned to take better bumps and sell the stuff more. And when he did that, he was incredible. Mm-hmm. Like the way a 290-pound guy, the size that he was able to move in the ring, and the absolute devastation he laid. We actually sat at work a couple weeks ago, and we watched old Goldberg videos of just like him spearing the shit out of people.
Busy
and
day.
There was no, it wasn't. And there was no way you were faking those spears. Those guys some of them had to have had crack ribs.
Oh yeah,
like he was destroying.
Yeah, it was a truck hitting you.
Yeah, and my favorite one was always the one where he speared Russo through the cage.
Through the cage, yeah.
It was one of the most ridiculous things I've ever seen in my life.
I still love the one. I think it was Big Show or the Giant at the time. I think
where he
speared it and he sold it perfectly. I mean, for a big guy to look.
He went off his feet. Well, even better was when he got jackhammered.
Yeah,
he held him there.
Yeah,
the guy's 450 pounds, and Goldberg held him up for like 10 seconds.
Yeah,
crazy.
So
that's a little off topic.
Yeah, a little. Well, yes and no. But moving on, Intercontinental title ladder match. That's the one I wanted.
There's no way this is not going to be good.
I mean, outside of what we'll get to in the next match for the nostalgia value, Dolph Ziggler, Daniel Bryan, R-Truth, Bad News Barrett, Luke Harper. That's my. I mean, I will say for a big man, that dude he can work. I mean, he's up there with those guys, and in regards to being able to move in the ring. Yep. Cody Rhodes or Stardust and Dean Ambrose. Tough to pick a winner. I would like to pick Dolph Ziggler, but it's going to Daniel Bryan.
Well, yeah, and they've set this up nicely with Dolph Ziggler beating Daniel Bryan twice in a row on SmackDown and on Monday. So it's setting this up for Daniel Bryan to probably get the win with some sort of battle on the ladder with Dolph Ziggler.
And I want to see that a feud between those two happen because that's pure magic.
I'll throw Dean Ambrose in there, too.
Yeah, I mean, and that's the thing. You've got some this just shows the depth they've got right now. Somebody's got to break through, and I don't know. I mean, Daniel Bryan's like the most logical in my mind.
Yeah, the guy was a world champion.
Exactly, but that's the thing. I was kind of taken back by the fact that they didn't end up making this a triple threat match for the world title. I mean, that was we watched Royal Rumble, and that backlash from Roman Reigns winning the Rumble over Daniel Bryan, and to me, what angered me the most about that was not so much that
Roman Reigns won. It was that Daniel Bryan and Dolph Ziggler were eliminated so convincingly, and I thought with how Dolph Ziggler got over at Survivor Series, he was on track to be the guy.
Yeah.
Daniel Bryan, unfortunately, had an injury.
They're infamous for stalling out storylines.
Oh God! Oh,
like they just push a guy through the roof like in a 2-month period.
Well, that's
like
this match is like the showcase of that.
Right.
It really is.
There's a bunch of guys that they've just
like
built up and destroyed. Even R-Truth. R-Truth had a huge push when he came over from TNA, and they squashed it.
Yeah. Bad News Barrett's another one that I think has been just injury plagued, and it's stunted his development. Luke Harper's at the beginning stages, and Ambrose, I think, he was the kind of guy. I thought they were positioning him when he had that feud with Rollins. Their match was incredible when they had Hell in the Cell. I figured he was going to be another guy that they kept in that picture, but I guess he gets crowded up on top.
Right.
You got to have your main guy.
Yeah, there's a lot of mid card guys that are upper mid card that could be the face of the company. There's just so many of them right now, which nobody's really had to say in a while. Usually it was just like Cena, and that was it.
I know.
But now it's getting a little crowded at the top, and they're probably struggling on what to do with these guys. And then you bring in this whole NXT thing, where that could go. But that's a good way. If it's going to be a feud type of thing between those two, those are the guys you use against those NXT guys.
I would like to see the NXT, and I had heard this, and it's my own fault for not researching it more fully, but I thought I heard that there was going to be some NXT involvement in WrestleMania.
Well, there could be, and Little Birdies had said that Samoa Joe is now a member.
So is he officially on board?
I don't know about officially, but that's the hubbub I heard. Samoa Joe signed a contract. Is he going to
be like Samoa Stan? I mean, they probably won't keep his name the same, but
Samoa Stan.
Samoa
that's all
Steve.
You got. Samoa Steve. Well, they could call him not Rusev, because Rusev completely stole his angle.
Yeah.
So let's have those two go against each other. I'd love it.
Yeah. Oh, that'd
beat the piss
brutal.
out of each other.
Yeah. That's the thing. There's a lot of guys down there that facing each other in NXT are killing it. You put them against some of the guys on the main roster. You get Adrian Neville in a match against Dolph Ziggler or Daniel Bryan against Sami Zayn and
about the guy with the
other guy Finn Balor.
Finn Balor. I want to see him against Dean Ambrose.
Yeah,
I want to see that
crazy
match.
Shit.
Yeah.
I
was telling you the other night,
$9.99 a month to watch.
I was telling you the other night I was watching some videos. It was late and I was just kind of sitting on my phone and I started watching these Instagram accounts. There's a ton of wrestling ones, and they got a bunch of 15-second clips of all these old wrestling videos and stuff. And this one, I think it's called it's Wrestle_Zone, and they had a bunch of he was John Moxley in CZW. The matches he was putting on there were insane. Yeah. Now this is like ECW but worse.
Backyard wrestling.
Yeah, this is like backyard wrestling, but it's indoors. Yeah. And the stuff he was doing there, he's got to be loving being in WWE because he
gets to live.
Yeah, he basically gets out of a match without any serious injury. But the videos were awesome. So check that out if you get a chance. He's a crazy ass.
All right, so IC belt match. I'm going Daniel Bryan. You said Daniel Bryan, too?
I said Daniel Bryan as well.
All right, should be the match of the night, no doubt. All right, so now the match that I wish I was saying 14 years ago that we're going to get to see. Sting versus Triple H.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what, Triple H, they show he's on the Muscle and Fitness cover this month. Dude hasn't lost a step in regards to overall shape. Sting is Sting.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously not the Sting of 1989,
right?
But this is the one that it's just I kind of got a little bit of a chill on Monday when he came out. That's what.
Yeah,
it's been such a. You've been waiting so long to see it.
He transcends the industry really. When we were watching all these Goldberg videos, one of the guys at work was telling me, Sting's corny and
what?
Yeah, that's what I'm like, dude. You don't even know what you're
Which
talking
version?
About.
Because either way, he's wrong.
He said the old version, the colorful version, was corny.
That was perfect for the time.
I go, yeah, and I also told him, I said he was better than any wrestler, back then.
Yep.
His in-ring ability, his mic ability, and his ability. Listen, not anybody can feud with Ric Flair like Sting feuded with Ric Flair.
That was one of my favorite Ric Flair quotes of all time when he was talking about that. I think it was NWA as a whole, I believe, but he said they just didn't have the marketing package to put themselves on the map like WWF did at the time.
Right.
And he said if we would have had the marketing machine behind us, Hogan and Warrior would have been the fourth match or third match or something like that.
100%. And I agree.
Like Sting
and I agree
Flair
with that.
and Luger and the Horsemen.
That's when I watched. That was when it was NWA,
Magnum TA,
and it started kicking over when Turner
bought it from Crockett. Right?
The wrestling, the Steiner brothers.
Yeah.
Listen, everybody talks about when Rey Mysterio came in and started doing the crazy moves. Scott Steiner was doing her and Karanas and Frankensteiners and stuff back in the 80s.
Yeah,
and he was 280 pounds.
I mean, the cruiserweights did add a whole new element to wrestling, and bringing in the luchadors did too. But those guys were doing things that were 10 years ahead of their time.
Flying off the top rope.
Yeah. I mean, you weren't seeing that in WWE either.
Listen.
Or WWF at the time, whatever.
Mean Mark Callis was doing his Undertaker walk across the ropes in WCW in 1989.
Right.
Before he was the Undertaker, he was doing the walk across the top rope.
Yeah.
And he was teamed up with Dan Spivey, and they were the skyscrapers.
Yeah.
And Dan Spivey was a guy who moved around the ring like he's 7 feet tall. There's no reason you should move around the ring like that. So they were way ahead. But like they said, they just didn't have
poor management.
Yeah, they didn't have the marketing behind them.
If they would have stuck to being more regional at the time, not so much territorial, but not trying to go global when you don't have the means to do so, they'd still be in business. They'd probably still have the Crockett would still be something we're talking about.
Well, it ended up turning into they took the entertainment portion too seriously. When McMahon ended up becoming the Attitude Era, and then he turned it into sports entertainment. That's what Turner was trying to do before that. Was he was bringing in people that were more on the entertainment side of things than the wrestling side of things.
Yeah.
And they didn't understand what it was they were trying to promote.
Right.
And if you would have had guys earlier on, that maybe didn't have, creative control and stuff like that, but could make the matches and things.
Right.
Guys like Kevin Nash and stuff like that, he took full advantage and actually, too much advantage of that stuff. He's got
ruined the company.
Right, exactly, because he had control over his own paycheck.
Right.
It kind of ruined it. But if you had guys like that came in a capacity to be consultants, because that guy knows how the business works, and he knows how to really push characters and do that. Dusty Rhodes is another one.
Genius.
That type of. If they would have really hovered, and brought those guys in and used them appropriately instead of bringing in outside suits to do all that stuff, that they would have went way farther than they did. And that's, we were listening to Ron Bennington on the way down to Virginia Beach, and he called Paul Heyman a carny, and he's absolutely right
in the nicest possible, most respected sense.
So is Vince McMahon. Vince McMahon is a carny.
Yeah,
he understood it. He understood what it was becoming, and he actually rolled with the punches and made it what it was supposed to be. Whereas they just kept bringing in people who didn't know what was going on, and all they wanted to see was ratings and money.
Yeah,
and they didn't understand that all came with the better product on the TV, and it completely escaped them.
Yeah.
And it was just, the inmates were running the asylum at that point, and there was nothing they could do. But if like you said, if they would have rallied around Goldberg and really pushed him as a character, and they did up at first, and then all of a sudden that started to die. We're not talking about them buying out WCW. We're talking about Goldberg having a 7-year run in that company and really doing something.
Yeah.
And it didn't turn out that way just because of poor management.
Yeah, no doubt. Well, we could talk about that all night, but Sting versus Triple H. Who do you got?
Sting.
I'm going Triple H.
Okay.
My reasoning behind that is, it may be kind of convoluted, but he put Daniel Bryan over last year. I'm going to stick with the whole family hates to put anything WCW over.
Okay, well, what if it just turns into like this could be a good way to spark something, like a revamp of that WCW versus WWE stuff.
Perhaps.
What if it's a swerve? What if it's the McMahons come out and they're attacking Sting, and then all of a sudden all the old WCW guys get in the ring and start defending Sting, and all of a sudden
who's left?
Well, that's a good point.
They're all retired. Seriously, I don't think there's.
Or maybe it doesn't turn into this long-term thing. Maybe it's Booker and
Yeah. I honestly think it's going to be a clean match. I mean, bats and sledgehammers, yes, but I think Triple H, in a very close, contested match, he goes over.
Yeah, I still think it's going to be Sting. I mean, you didn't bring the guy in to lose.
I don't.
It's been so long in the making. You didn't bring
I don't
him to
see
lose.
it being the only match they have. I think they'll be at SummerSlam too.
You think? I don't know, man.
It's going to be tight. I agree with you there that you don't bring a guy in like that to lose, but he's another guy that's a professional. He'll do business. He'll do
sure,
right.
absolutely he will. But Triple H has turned into that guy too.
Yeah,
that he's putting the product over anything else.
But I think that could. So I mean, not that he needs any solidification as a heel, but
right. Well, that's
really,
part of it.
I mean, that could really hammer home his role, or maybe he steps away. I don't know, but I think he's going to be the guy that wins that match.
Okay.
All right. So this is what when we started off, I was saying I have a new prediction for the main event. So when we talked last week, my prediction was Reigns wins, Rollins comes in and cashes in the title. I'm changing that now because of everything that's happened with Brock Lesnar re-signing.
Right. 3-year deal, too.
3-year deal. Roman Reigns wins the title with Paul Heyman's help.
Beautiful.
That's my new prediction.
Beautiful.
Now,
Beautiful.
Your new guy. You got a guy that's not great on the mic with Paul Heyman now.
That's what should happen.
I think that would
100%. That's what should happen.
Beautiful.
Brock goes out on his own.
Yeah. And he's proven he can.
Oh,
he's done it before.
Yeah, absolutely.
And he's not going to be around that much anyway. So you bring him in as a badass. If he takes a month off, you let Reigns and Rollins go at it, and Reigns as a heel could be great.
Yep.
And then when Lesnar reemerges onto the scene, that crowd will go apeshit.
Yep. And that's the perfect angle for that because you're making Paul Heyman his mouthpiece.
Yep.
And that's the area he struggles. And if you put Paul Heyman with Roman Reigns, he'll learn how to talk.
Yep.
He'll learn from the best.
And they had a small segment. I guess Roman Reigns was on Sports Nation with Michelle Beadle today, and Heyman came out and interrupted. It wasn't real confrontational. Shook his hand twice. Basically said, "I'm an admirer of your work." And
well, that's what kind of has been happening in this whole feud is it hasn't been Heyman just saying, Roman Reigns, you're garbage. He's been saying. Yeah. He's been giving him a lot of credit and a lot of saying, you're definitely the face of this company going forward, and I think that would be a perfect way to do this would be to have the swerve, and not even like the Rollins feud. A feud with him and Brock for an extended period of time could be, it's been a long time since there's been two really good big guys, and these are two really good big guys. Mm-hmm. So
that's what I'm going with. I think that would be big. So that wraps up the card. I'm looking forward to it. I think it's going to be a good show. WrestleMania is usually pretty decent. So night before WrestleMania, to wrap up the wrestling talk, we won't spend a lot more on that than we thought because we went on a couple tangents. Sorry about that, guys.
We do that sometimes when talking about wrestling.
It happens because we're nerds. Hall of Fame is the night before. Pretty decent class this year. Obviously,
I can't believe it's been taking this long for the Macho Man.
I was just about to say, well deserved and long overdue. I think there was some friction there, some sort of carryover from obviously before he died, but
yeah, but he died 6 years ago now. 09, I think it was something
like that. Yeah,
like get over it.
So well deserved. That's a good headliner. Next, the Bushwhackers. Here's how. Fine, whatever. But how they beat Demolition in first. Come on. Everybody, some of the things I've watched on Network have talked about how Demolition was their answer to the Road Warriors. Maybe it was, but it was still pretty damn good.
Yeah, it was.
I
really
love
good.
Demolition.
Yeah.
The Axe and Smash version.
Yes.
They were great.
What about Crush?
Yeah, no, not Crush. No Crush.
What about LOD 2000? With draws.
See, now we're getting off subject too much. Larry Zbyszko, Pittsburgh guy, getting in. Well deserved.
Yes.
I like that. Arnold Schwarzenegger, it's just the celebrity wing thing. I guess they're going to do one a year. I don't care. I really don't
Seems
care.
like he's going to be pretty involved with WrestleMania this year, though. So let's see how that goes. He might be involved in a couple of the storylines.
Okay. Alundra Blaze / Medusa. I like that. That's classy. After what she did with the title. That was awesome.
Before the women's division was even a thing, as far as what we know today, she was super athletic. She was good on the mic. She was everything that all these girls now are.
Yeah.
So yeah, she definitely.
And she was part of my favorite faction back in I think it was 2000 when Savage had her and Miss Madness and Gorgeous George.
Oh yeah, that's a nice entourage.
Yes, and Savage, that was one of Savage's coolest characters. He was more badass.
Right.
He had the hair in the
Wore all
ponytail.
black and-
I like that.
Had like
character.
the leather stuff.
That was
on.
always one of my favorite versions of Randy Savage.
Bonesaw
was my second favorite.
Bonesaw's ready.
So then, Rikishi. What are your takes on Rikishi?
Not before Demolition.
That dude. Well, no, I mean, from a tag team perspective, I just figured Demolition held the belt several times.
There's a million guys that
Alice
should go
Cooper
in.
did their entrance music.
There's a million guys that should go in before Rikishi, but because of who he is and what family he belongs to, I don't mind it. And he played a lot of characters over the years.
It took a while to get to that one that finally stuck. Make a difference, Fatu.
Yes. And he was also the Sultan.
He was the Sultan. He was part of the Samoan SWAT team before he gained all the
right.
Before he went all Funhouse Mayor.
And the Usos are his kids.
Yeah, exactly.
So this family, this family includes The Rock and Yokozuna.
Oh yeah,
and the Wild Samoans. This is the greatest wrestling family in the history of wrestling families. So sure, he's in.
And then Tatsumi Fujinami, I don't know much about, so I did a little bit of
New Japan guy. He won. He was 6-time IWGP champ, 5-time IWGP tag champ, and a 1-time NWA champion. He beat Ric Flair in Japan, and he was the only person to ever hold the NWA and IWGP titles simultaneously. Okay,
so that's deserved. I guess what they're saying is Flair is gonna. I believe he's
inducting him.
I believe he's Fujinami's dead. I'm not.
Oh, really?
I think that's what they said. Flair is going. I can't remember if that's legit or not, but I know Flair is probably inducting him.
Here's my only issue with that, even though I don't know who he is. Muta goes in before he does.
Muta's still wrestling, I think.
Yeah, he was in TNA not too long ago.
Yeah,
but regardless,
Muta was
the
awesome.
The great Muta is the greatest Japanese wrestler there has ever been.
Jushin Thunder Liger's up there.
There's probably more because
I'm not super familiar with that.
Jushin Thunder Liger wasn't having feuds with Sting and Ric Flair.
Muta was great.
Luger. Muta is he is the Hulk Hogan of Japanese.
I loved his entrance. It was just good with the bodyguard that walked backwards behind him, and Gary Hart led the way. I thought that was great.
The Mist.
Yeah, and then Big Daddy Cool, Diesel,
of course,
Kevin Nash. That's it, right?
The fact that
who are we missing? Oh, Sean Waltman.
The fact that they're putting him in as Diesel kind of bugs me a little bit. Because
they're putting Medusa in as a Lunder Blaze. I think they're just trying to. They put Scott Hall in as Razor Ramon. That's what they're doing. They're sticking to the.
Well, it's the WWE guy. Okay, well they were way better, not the WWE guys.
Congratulations to Glenn Jacobs for that version of Diesel.
Nails.
And then the one that's I love it's the first Warrior Award, and if anybody watched the induction ceremony this morning last year, he was saying how it would be nice if there was people outside of wrestling that were honored. And there is a young child from Pittsburgh named Connor Michalik, and they had nicknamed him the Crusher. He had a huge involvement in WrestleMania last year. I'm not ashamed to admit when they showed the video, I teared up big time. That was just so well put together, and he's going to be the first recipient of the Warrior Award. He passed away shortly after WrestleMania from, I believe it was brain cancer, pediatric brain cancer. Very, very sad story, and it was a very moving tribute that they put together for him. And this is going to tear the house down. It's going to bring the house down.
I'm sure it will, because a lot of those, especially Daniel Bryan, that was his favorite wrestler.
Those stars got
and
close.
Cena got really close with that kid, and Stephanie McMahon too.
Yeah,
and
Triple H was too. Everybody was.
They were pretty tore up in that documentary about what was going on with him. So
I know I saw the feature on KDKA too. I'm sure we'll see some more local news coverage of that. So. That's going to wrap up our wrestling talk. Should be a good weekend. WrestleMania weekend always is.
Yes, sir.
How much time do you want to devote to this Howard Stern nonsense?
Let's cover it quickly. We really haven't gotten to the beer talk yet.
I know.
There's a few things we want to go over there. So let's touch on this real briefly. Ari Shaffir is a stand-up, and he has a podcast. And apparently, I don't know the specific details. I just know what I had heard listening to Opie and Jimmy about I guess Ari had said something about Howard Stern on his podcast.
Yeah.
And this sparked Howard to go on one of his rants about podcasting. And he basically tore podcasting apart and called it stupid and all this stuff. And
all of us are losers because we are making podcasts.
Right. And he sounded a little out of touch. And by a little, I mean a lot. But the other thing that I think really gets at him, which I can't believe it does at this point, and got paid $250 million to go to SiriusXM, is that he sees it as any schlub, including you and I, can have a radio show.
Yeah.
And he worked his ass off
Yeah.
to get where he's at in a radio show, and I think it pisses him off a little bit that...
Guess what? Technology comes along and allows this to happen. Get over it. Yep.
Show up more than twice a week and do your show,
and that's
maybe nobody's, maybe it's not a problem for you.
My take on it was Howard Stern was front and center for that paradigm shift of radio. Now, it wasn't because of him, but he was able to take advantage of both mediums. He made a name for himself in terrestrial radio, was able to translate that over and get paid a buttload of money from Sirius.
He was at the forefront of the talk radio side, though, I think.
I'll give him that. I would absolutely agree with that.
He created a different show that... I mean, and those shows that existed in the past, but they didn't get crazy popular like his show got. He took talk radio to a whole new level, and I appreciate that. But at 60 years old now, he's showing the fact that he's not able to adjust to what's going on out there, and he's kind of pissed off that just some random guy can start a podcast and get successful with it. Now, let me tell you, a successful podcaster is nowhere near a successful radio host.
Yeah.
The most successful podcasters out there, the Adam Carollas and the Chris Hardwicks and the Joe Rogans and the Bill Burrs, they aren't making near the money as a good radio host is.
I don't think they're expecting to.
They want to.
Oh, sure,
they would love
to, but they're not expecting that. They're using that more as a platform to build themselves up because they're stand-up comedians and they're doing other things that we want people to listen to. What I'm doing on this hour-long podcast.
That aren't stand-up comedians, the serial podcast and those types of ones. They just, you're right. They set out with just kind of a message to throw out there, and it's working for them. But the monetary side of it can't be there.
But Howard Stern's take on this could be just the same as a newspaper writer coming down on a blogger.
Which actually happened.
Renowned journalists have come out and said that, hey, this guy can just write whatever he wants. He's got a blog. Well, yeah, of course he can. That's the world we live in now. In the social world that is the internet, we can say whatever we want. We have plenty of platforms to do
Which is part of the problem with everything nowadays too. But there's the double-edged sword there. But my wife today got a phone call from the Post-Gazette.
Yeah.
And they offered to the Post-Gazette, and she said no. And he couldn't believe that she would say no, I don't want the Post-Gazette. And she said, I heard him as he hung up the phone say, what is it with these 30-year-olds today not wanting a newspaper? And it's like, are you serious?
Actually, it's funny you mention it because I actually had a very, very good meeting with a woman today from one of the local newspapers, and what she pointed out to me, which I think is spot on, what newspapers are doing to stay in relevancy, is they're getting more involved with holding live events. And from what she told me is they are completely on board with the digital arm of their business and how that is basically driving that circulation, is because people are still going to read the paper a lot, and people older than us, the generation above us, probably still might pick up the paper. I usually, when I go home, I'll look at the Bradford Era at my parents' house.
Yeah, that's actually the only one I look at too, just to see what's going on up there.
Excuse me. That's about where I'm at with it. And I will say, though, on the other side of that, I follow Trib and Post-Gazette on Twitter, on Facebook, and when I see an article I want to read.
And they're posting news on their Twitter account way before it ever hits the paper. So I don't know why people get papers.
And that's what I'm saying about that is the fact that
you can't like crossword puzzles that much.
Sudoku.
That sucks too.
I don't know, but that's.
I don't want to read Beetle Bailey.
That's the big difference now. Is we're living in a world where we can get our information when we want it. We don't have to wait. We don't have that set schedule of knowing, the paper's going to arrive on my doorstep at 6 a.m.
But why do people keep grasping at the fact that still needs to exist?
It can't be an easy sale these days. I can't imagine.
And I don't understand why they even try. I don't understand why they just don't go, okay, this is a failing industry.
Yeah.
Figure something else out. Go online. Do something else.
Yeah, I mean, digital is the way everything's moving, and I think it'll get there eventually. 10 years ago,
who would have believed that our books would be on this little tablet thing that we hold in our hands?
Well, and that's what I was going to say.
We could have thousands of books in our hand, or our music would be in this little box that I have.
The newest, and actually, I probably shouldn't say this on the air. I probably could do this myself, but I'm seeing the next generation of newspaper is something you're talking about right there. That literally is something you hold that looks like paper, that is all touchscreen. Mm-hmm. It's powered by Bluetooth, and you run a subscription to whatever it is, whether it's Google, whether it's CNN, whether it's Yahoo, whether it's Post-Gazette, whatever it is, you have a subscription, and as news comes up, it changes the articles on your little
there's an app called Smart News that kind of exists.
Right, but no, I'm actually talking because people do enjoy the actual holding and turning of pages.
Yeah,
so that's what I'm saying. It's something that you hold,
I see. Yeah.
And it's literally like it's clear,
mm-hmm.
but it's like Minority Report where it comes up and you move things around and
I would never say that we would one day not see that because that's the way the world's going. It's evolving every day.
For the people that still like to read and actually still like to hold something in their hand,
Yeah. So to go back to the subject at hand, Howard Stern, I don't think he's looking at this the proper way. Look, if you don't want to have a podcast, fine. I can't remember who he had on that interview with him that was basically saying that it's a great way to get practice if you want to do that. He disagrees.
Of course he does.
But that was, I think, he was so dead set in that stance that he wasn't going to bend for anyone.
Right.
But I feel that this is a good way to just get behind the mic, spew a few things, talk about what you love. We talk about beer, we talk about sports, we talk about wrestling. But ultimately, at the end of the day, we have a good time with it. And I know the premise behind our whole show, and that's where the name came from, too, of Over a Couple of Beers, is we used to sit around and drink beer and have these same conversations. We just never recorded them.
Right.
So
I wish we did, actually.
I know. There'd probably be some more
much material.
Exactly. But
we'd be scrambling for it every week.
That's why. I don't know, man. I prepared nicely for tonight's show.
I didn't.
Anyway. So, Howard Stern, if you're listening, which you're not, we're going to keep doing our podcast. They might come along and cancel us. They might not, but nevertheless, it's still a lot of fun. All right, so we got some beer talk. So we're going to talk about beer.
Finally, only 45 minutes into the podcast.
Thanks for hanging in with us, guys.
All three that are left. Like, when is this wrestling talk stopping?
It's still real to us, damn it.
Is he still talking about bacon? All right, so I'll start it off with the...
That'll be the last of the bacon jokes.
Let's start on ketchup.
Heinz.
Oh, yeah.
Merging with Kraft. There you
go. There's that, too. We got some
Yeah.
news, and Heinz merged with Kraft to become
That's
a
not about beer.
mega food company. So now everybody from Kraft can dip all their food in the Heinz side. So right now they got USA Today, which I'm not a normal proponent of or even read that much, but they currently have the Ultimate Craft Beer Bracket going on. We're down to the Elite 8. I have been participating since the beginning, and there's been some pretty tight matchups. But they're taking they took the top. I think they started at 32.
Thanks to Virginia, this is the most popular bracket in my world right now.
Yeah, you and everybody else.
My basketball bracket's toilet paper
again,
at this
which
point.
is why I stopped doing it. It's a moot point. But I think they started at 32. I don't know if they went all 64. I think they started.
I think it was 32.
Yeah, and some interesting, intriguing matchups, and we're down to the Elite 8. Which right before we went on the air, I put my votes in. We have Bells against Founders. I'm actually surprised at this matchup that these two actually made it this far. I'm actually happy about it, but I'm surprised. Cigar City versus Terrapin. Sierra Nevada, who bumped off Ballast Point, which I disagreed with, is up against Stone. Stone was actually a 5th seed. I don't know who's seeding these things.
I don't know if there's any science to the seeding.
I can't imagine that there is, because they had Cigar City as a 1 seed and Bells as a 1 seed, which Bells I could see, but yeah, they had Stone as a 5th seed from the West. I guess
tough.
Yeah, I just no.
They must have lost their conference championship.
Yeah, Sierra Nevada versus Stone. Here's a big one. Victory versus Southern Tier. And as it looks,
that's a hell of a matchup. That's a tough one to.
Yeah, as it would seem, it looks like Southern Tier is probably going to outlast them. So it's coming down to, it looks like it's probably going to be Stone against Southern Tier, which I'm not going to know what to do. because they are my 1 and 1A. So I don't. Yeah, I'm going to be pretty confused at that one. Terrapin and Cigar City are very close, and it looks like Founders and Bells are even closer. So those two are going to come down to the wire. But it's looking like there may be a Stone and Southern Tier matchup coming up. So that's kind of crazy and kind of awesome.
That usually goes on in my belly.
Yes, it does. Yes, it does. Come on. Beer talk. Beer talk.
I was just looking. So I know I love Stone, too. I think you love them a little bit more than me.
They're my favorite.
How do you feel about Ruination coming off the shelves and being retired?
I can't lie. I cried a bit.
Yeah?
I was pretty upset about it. Not pretty. I was really upset about it. It's one of my favorite beers.
Yeah.
Always has been. And,
are you going to be planning a trip to the store to stash?
Yes.
Have a stash?
Luckily, Giant Eagle tends to stock it, so I'll probably be stocking up on that a little bit. Maybe go to the distributor, see if I can get my hands on a case of it. It's a disappointment. I guess the sales have been down recently with it, which I could see. They have so many hoppy beers that it may get lost in the shuffle. Hopefully they keep Ruin 10. And they did say that they may keep Ruination around for like special release purposes, things like that, which is technically how Ruination got started. It was one of their anniversary ales, I think 6th anniversary or 7th anniversary, something like that, and they kept it on as one of their main all-year beers, but definitely one of my favorites.
Yeah, very cool. And then on a more positive note, actually, I mean, this could go either way, just depending on how much you'd like to drink of it. The Enjoy By Stones, the Enjoy By IPAs are going to be coming in 12-ounce bottles now. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, I can't. I guess it's the same thing. You just drink one bomber, you drink 2 of those.
Yeah.
But it just seems a little bit more convenient with the 12-ounce bottles.
Yeah. Now, have you seen? I haven't really looked too hard. Have you seen any of the Enjoy Afters anywhere here in town? You can't.
Well, not here. No, I have. I've not seen them physically.
Okay.
Like I have not touched one.
Okay.
But I did see a couple people on that Pines Templar post that they had them, and they got to wait a while.
Yeah.
December. First one's December 15th.
That's kind of cool, actually.
Yeah. So
I've had beer that I've sat on for a year. I could.
Yeah, but you could have drank it at any time. This
Sure.
is telling you do not drink this before this date.
So you're just trying to defy your beer bottle now. That's the.
Yes. You have to hide it.
Can I?
You have to hide it somewhere and forget that you have it, and then 2 years later you're like, oh, right, I'm supposed to drink this now. And my last thing on Stone, I was poking around because I had read that article, and they have I think it's a new beer, but it's called "Do These Hops Make My Beer Look Big?"
I like it.
Yeah, and the bottle is beautiful.
Is that one of the stochasticity? I can't say.
Stochasticity? No, it is not. It's its own animal. I think it's a double IPA. It's like 8.8%. The bottle's beautiful.
Yeah, can you guys see this?
Yes.
That's awesome. That is actually a really cool label. Google
it translates through radio.
Yeah, that's pretty. I like that.
So
as if Stone's going to put out an ugly bottle. Right?
Yeah, well, that's part of that's what tips Stone to the top
yeah, they
for
have
me.
the coolest label.
Is their marketing, their branding is the best there is, the very best there is. If you see a gargoyle, you're automatically thinking Stone.
Yep.
I love that place, and I hope to get there sometime soon. I want to see the beer gardens.
Amen.
I hear it's the most beautiful thing in Escondido, California, which from what I heard is
telling you, man, we need to do that loop.
GABF,
roll over to Cali.
Go up to Pacific Coast. Well, you have to go to the Pacific Coast Highway to get there. That's a nice drive because those guys are in Northern California and
I'm not saying we do it in one day.
No, that's gonna be quite the ride.
Yeah, absolutely.
I told you with my ride to Virginia Beach, I hate driving.
So a little local beer news. The Pittsburgh Craft Beer Week events are starting to come together. And again, April 17th through 26th, we'll be seeing more events coming up. One of the cool ones that we saw come up yesterday, it's going to be happening on the last day, April 26th, at the Grist House Brewing's parking lot. The first annual Brewers Olympics. I think that's going to be a lot of fun. It looks like they're going to be... I really don't know. All I have to go off of is the... what do you want to say?
Where are we going to park?
I don't know. It's going to be a logistic nightmare, right?
Yeah.
Maybe part of it involves the cars. maybe part of the games involves the cars.
There you go.
That'd be cool.
Go.
I'm sure they'll have some. My guess, not knowing, would be roping off the area where the food truck normally sits. But hey, I'm just looking.
Oh, they're considering that parking lot. Okay.
Yeah, I mean,
all right.
That's just one of what's going to be a great week. That's one of the things I've noticed about the events I have seen come out so far for Beer Week this year. Is there's a lot of ingenuity there. We're not seeing things that have been done before. It's not just tap takeovers and samplings. I mean, those are in there.
Right.
But I'm seeing a lot more events start to rise to the top that, like that Brewers Olympics is going to be brand new.
Well, I'm seeing
15,
more and more.
15 breweries from town that are going to be competing in feats of agility, strength, and stamina.
This could get ugly.
I think it's going to be awesome to watch.
But yeah, I am enjoying the fact that a lot of these breweries around town have embraced this to the point where they're working together instead of I got to make sure that my beer is better than everybody else's beer. It's become more of this is for everybody.
Exactly.
This is our week. This is what we work so hard for to get the recognition and stuff. Let's work together and make this a huge event that people really want to come to.
Yeah. So it's a $15 ticket. Steering wheel will be in the house providing burgers. You got your games. All 15 breweries that are involved are going to have their beers on tap. It's going to be a great way to close down Beer Week. I think it's going to be a lot of fun.
Yes.
So we'll be talking about more events in the next few weeks as we get close. I mean, God, it's only 3 weeks away. Just about 3 weeks away.
Is it really?
Yeah, April 17th. It's rolling in quick. So that's going to do it for tonight's show.
Let me touch on.
You got more?
Yeah, one more thing.
Not going to do it for tonight's show.
The one thing I wanted to say kind of lends itself to the progression and the growth of craft beer. Obviously we talked at length about the commercial that I keep seeing from Anheuser-Busch, but just read that I guess craft beer is up to $100 million now per year in export. So
wow.
There was an article about how Europe and other foreign countries outside of the United States said thirsting for American craft beer. So not only is it huge here, it's starting to become huge elsewhere. So American craft beer is starting to become the standard now instead of all of us clamoring to get our hands on some German beer or that type of stuff. Now it's starting the other way around. And as we said, Stone took the first big step by building another brewery over in Germany.
Right.
But they are clamoring for the American craft style beers. So that's good news, and that's
a beautiful thing.
And it's making Anheuser-Busch shaking their shoes, man.
Mm-hmm. That's awesome.
More good stuff.
Very good to hear. All right, guys, we're going to wrap this up for the evening, and we look forward to having you back next week on Over a Couple of Beers, Episode 9. We may go live on location. There's been some talk about doing one outside of the studio.
Some hubbub?
Maybe. A little hubbubaloo.
Some fodder?
We're going to see what we can make happen. And, again, we're going to have a couple special shows coming up for Craft Beer Week. We'll talk to you guys more about that as we put those details together. Until then.
At Jason P. Collins on Twitter.
Enjoy WrestleMania. Enjoy your beers. Have a great one, guys.
And enjoy some Big Daddy Cool.